There comes a moment in every person's life where everything feels like it's spinning out of control. Plans fall apart. People change. Life hits with chaos you didn't see coming. And in that storm, the natural instinct is to grip tighter, to control, to predict, to force order onto a world that refuses to obey. But what if that instinct is the very thing keeping you trapped? The ancient Stoics believed something radical, that the key to peace, power, and purpose wasn't found in controlling everything, but in surrendering to what you cannot control. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't defeat. It was clarity, precision, strength. Because the moment you stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start focusing on what's actually within your power, the chaos outside loses its grip on you. Imagine you're a sailor in rough waters. You don't control the wind. You don't control the waves. You control the sails. You control the direction you choose. You control your response. And when you stop yelling at the storm and start mastering your ship, something shifts. You become the calm inside the chaos. This is what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control, knowing what's yours to influence and what never was. And the truth is, most of us waste our lives trying to govern things we can't. Other people's opinions, the past, the future, random events, even death. We exhaust ourselves, building walls against the uncontrollable, and in doing so we miss the only place where real power exists inside. Letting go doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean inaction. It means choosing your battles. It means no longer fighting reality. It's saying, I will do everything I can with what's mine, and I will release the rest. That's where your strength lives. Not in control, but in command. Not in force, but in focus. But the modern world doesn't teach this. It teaches the opposite. We're told to hustle, to dominate, to win at all costs. That everything is a game of leverage, status, strategy. So we become obsessed with outcomes. We obsess over results we can't guarantee. We become addicted to control, and that addiction destroys us quietly. It breeds anxiety, bitterness, obsession, rage. Because nothing in life stays obedient for long. People leave, money comes and goes, bodies age, the world changes. And every time it does, your illusion of control shatters. You either live in fear, trying to glue it all back together, or you let go. You shift your attention from outcomes to effort, from trying to dominate life to dancing with it. The great paradox is this: the more you let go of control, the more powerful you become, because now your energy is no longer scattered. It's no longer diluted by chasing the unchangeable. You reclaim that energy and aim it at your habits, your attitude, your presence, your character. And when you master that, life begins to respond differently. Let go of trying to be liked and you become more magnetic. Let go of trying to impress and people are drawn to your authenticity. Let go of chasing outcomes and you perform better because you're no longer paralyzed by fear. You stop thinking, I need this to happen, and start thinking, whatever happens, I'll handle it. That is the mindset that terrifies life's storms. Because storms can't break someone who isn't trying to control the sky. This is what the Stoics meant when they said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius wasn't preaching fantasy. He was offering freedom, the kind that can't be taken from you because it doesn't depend on anything external. It lives within. Untouchable. Unshakable. We suffer most not because of what happens, but because we demand that it shouldn't have happened. We fight the reality instead of facing it. But when you accept what is, you reclaim your footing. Acceptance is not surrender. It's the beginning of strategy. You can't move through something if you're still stuck in denial that it exists. And here's what's wild: when you stop forcing life to happen your way, life often starts aligning in ways you never expected. Opportunities appear not because you demanded them, but because you became the kind of person who attracts them. You start noticing doors that were always there, but your obsession with one specific door kept you blind. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means no longer being a slave to outcomes. It means committing fully while releasing attachment to how things turn out. It means waking up every day doing your best and trusting that the result, whatever it is not your master. This is terrifying at first. Because control feels safe, predictability feels safe. But it's an illusion. And the moment you pierce that illusion, something incredible begins to happen. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop spiraling and start acting from intention. You move through the world not as someone desperate to shape it, but as someone shaped by something deeper: discipline, peace, resilience, focus. When you drop the weight of needing everything to go your way, you finally have the strength to carry what truly matters. Not everyone will understand this. Some will still cling to control, chase perfection, micromanage every part of their life. But look closer, and you'll see the anxiety in their eyes, the tightness in their voice, the panic under the surface. And then you'll look at the Stoic, not emotionless, not careless, but steady. They've given up the illusion of control and in return, gained command over the one thing that matters most: themselves. Once you've tasted the freedom of letting go, the world begins to look different. You no longer walk into a room trying to manage people's thoughts about you. You no longer obsess over what might go wrong in the future. You no longer beg life to follow your script. Instead, you move with quiet confidence because you've made peace with one of life's greatest secrets. Control is an illusion, but composure is a choice. Most people live in a state of low-grade panic. They're constantly bracing for disappointment, constantly resisting uncertainty. But the Stoic doesn't flinch, not because they don't feel, but because they've trained themselves to separate pain from panic, misfortune from meltdown. They've learned to pause, to observe, to breathe. And in that pause, they find clarity. That pause is power. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoic principle isn't about being passive, it's about being deliberate. When you release the need to control outcomes, you can finally focus on the only thing that ever mattered: your response. That's where your agency lives. Not in controlling the chaos, but in refusing to become it. And strangely enough, this surrender makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Because people who can't be rattled can't be manipulated. People who don't fear outcomes can't be blackmailed by life. The world can throw anything at you and you will still stand. Bruised maybe, battered perhaps, but still standing. You become the kind of person who can lead in a crisis, who can walk away from toxic situations, who doesn't chase what's leaving or cling to what's breaking. You stop trying to convince the world of your worth because you've discovered something deeper, a peace that doesn't depend on anything outside of you. That kind of energy unsettles those who are still trying to control everything. It unnerves the insecure. It confuses the manipulative. Because you're not playing their game anymore. You're free. Letting go of control is not a one-time event. It's a daily discipline. It's recognizing that your peace is more valuable than your plans, that your integrity matters more than your image, that your calm is worth more than your reputation. The more you practice this, the more unshakable you become, not numb, not disconnected, but focused, grounded, anchored. And it's not just philosophical, it's practical. Think about how much energy you lose trying to control what people think. How many sleepless nights are spent rehearsing conversations that never happen, planning for disasters that never arrive. That mental weight is draining your power. But when you finally release it, when you say, "I can't control what they think, only how I show up," you reclaim your energy. Your mind becomes quiet. Your actions become cleaner. Your results improve not because you controlled them, but because you stopped wasting energy on what you couldn't influence. This is why people who embrace Stoic thinking often seem to get lucky. It's not magic. It's focus. It's presence. It's clarity. When you're not paralyzed by the fear of loss, you take bolder actions. When you're not attached to specific outcomes, you can pivot faster. When you're not desperate to control, you become magnetic to things that are naturally aligned. And slowly, life begins to reward that internal shift. Maybe not always in the way you expect, but in the way that's needed. You begin to attract relationships based on depth, not performance. You find opportunities you didn't have to beg for. You navigate hardship with grace instead of rage. And when everything collapses, you rebuild without bitterness, because now you live by a different compass. Not one based on control, but on character. Not one based on manipulation, but on mastery. And people notice. They notice your silence in chaos, your grace under pressure, your refusal to be pulled into drama, fear, or ego. They wonder what your secret is, but you don't need to explain. Because your presence says everything. This is the essence of the Stoic way. Not to deny emotion, but to direct it. Not to control the world, but to master the only kingdom that ever truly belonged to you, your own mind, your own heart. Your own soul. Letting go is not a weakness. It's a revolt. It's a rebellion against a world that wants you anxious, reactive, and dependent. When you let go, you're not giving up, you're leveling up. You're stepping into a version of yourself that is not ruled by fear, insecurity, or the illusion of control. You become the eye of the storm, the center that holds even when everything else is spinning. So take the pressure off. Let go of the death grip. Breathe. Recenter. Because you've never needed to control the world to thrive in it. You only needed to stop letting it control you. And when you truly get that, when it's no longer just an idea but something you live, you'll notice something strange happening. Life will begin to unfold in your favor. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because you finally become the kind of person who can handle it no matter how it shows up. That's not luck. That's power. And it begins the moment you let go. If this message resonated with you, and you're ready to stop clinging to chaos and start building real inner strength, subscribe to the channel. We create content that doesn't just entertain, it transforms. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern life. And together, we're building something rare, a community of unshakable minds. Until next time, stand tall, breathe deep, and remember, the strongest force is the one that doesn't force at all.